Enterprise Management 360.
Joining me on today's Tech Chat is Chloé Messdaghi, a security researcher advocate who is going to be speaking with us about the current climate of ethical hacking. As well as her advocate role, she is co-founder of Women in Security and founder of WomenHackerz, a private online community for women in InfoSec. Thank you so much for joining me today, Chloé. I'm really looking forward to getting your thoughts on attitudes towards ethical hacking and how to increase the number of women in InfoSec.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about the security research community as a whole. Given that hacking is a key word in this field, do you think that this may contribute to negative attitudes or misconceptions surrounding the community?
That is a great question. To be honest, I think a lot of companies have switched over from using the term hacker as security researcher for that very reason. So some hackers will take on security researcher as their title versus a hacker because of the negative association with the word hacker, unfortunately. However, it's hackers that are every single day are being heroes. Online, they're finding vulnerabilities, protecting, your loved ones, yourself as well, so your data is protected. And so it's kind of a weird situation, but I feel like there is a shift now where people are becoming more and more interested in hackers. But the one thing you can always see is that if you do a Google search on a hacker, chances are on images, you will find someone with a black hoodie in the middle of the night. It's like a male, his head's down. Sometimes it's like there's a face covered or whatnot, and they're drinking Red Bull. Like, that's not how it is. Hackers look like you and I, like everyday people, just looking for vulnerabilities to keep everyone safe. And because it's kind of fun, actually. It's like it's like finding a hole and you're just like want to keep going further and further down, trying to figure out how did this happen and where is the weakest link.
It's really refreshing to hear about the good intentions behind ethical hacking. So I completely understand why you would want to change the narrative. As I mentioned in the introduction though, you have founded a private online community, WomenHackerz. What motivated you to do so, and what can be said for women in security in this day and age?
Great question. So my backstory is about a year and a half ago, I guess now, I actually almost left InfoSec. And the reason for that was there was a moment where right before RSA conference in 2018, a month, I think, leading up to it, I did a blog post and I interviewed a bunch of different women in the field. And they were all different kinds of levels, different type of positions, different fields of security too as well. And to hear why is it still 11% of women are in InfoSec, and why is there such a rotating door of women leaving and coming in and then leaving? And so I heard their stories and it went through one ear, but it didn't really stick at all. And so what happened is I went to RSA conference and I'm sitting in this audience and there's 200, 300 people in there, but they're men. There's two other women, and the whole time I was like, please say you're not an assistant. Please say you're not an assistant. And chances are they were. And so I walk out of that room just feeling kind of okay, it's 2000 at the time, 2018. And I remember there was that feeling of something is wrong. And that's where it hit hard. Because I walked to my hotel later onwards on that day, and I was washing my face, and I looked in the mirror, and then suddenly this wave of emotion just hit me as if someone lifted this blindfold. And I suddenly remembered all those things that those women were telling me in a blog when I was interviewing them. And I literally just went down on the ground, just crying, because I suddenly realized I've been dealing with this the whole time and I didn't even notice it was happening to me. And that was the point where I was I'm going to leave. But then 2 months later from there, there was an event called Day of Security, and it was a women's only event for women in security. And when I walked in the room, there was 200 women in there. And suddenly I felt I'm not alone. I'm not isolated anymore. Why am I I have to do something about this. I want to change the dynamics. I want women to feel empowered enough that they stay in this field. And how am I going to do that? And so I ended up telling a few people that did participate in that blog post that I wanted to go to summer camp. It's B-Sides, Las Vegas, Black Hat, and DEF CON. And then there's these other smaller cons that happen around that time, all based around security. And so I told them I wanted to go. Next thing I know, in my inbox, I had flight tickets, I had hotels, I had all the badges, and it was all provided for free because these people didn't want to give up and they didn't want to see someone else leaving that was a woman. And these were men and women that participated and helped me out to get me to Las Vegas. I gave a talk actually on diversity and inclusion, and it was an eye-opening moment. And I met actually my co-founder for Women in Security WoSec, Tanya Janka, there. And so her and we connected afterwards, and she was like, I have this idea. Why don't we make chapters all over the world that support and empower women in InfoSec? So we started doing that. And so now we have chapters all over the world. And it's been growing relatively fast, believe it or not. But it was also a moment a couple months ago when there's, so Bugcrowd has the Inside the Mind of a Hacker guide. And they have a statistic in there that says 4% of hackers are women. And that was a point where I really realized there's not only is there 11% of women are in InfoSec, but like 4%, that's even lower. So it's like, okay, so I'm doing WoSec, but what can I do to get more women hackers in the field and have them communicate with each other? And so that's when I decided to create WomenHackerz. So it is a Slack workplace, which has hundreds of women in it right now at all different levels. And they learn from different workshops every other week on the various subjects within hacking in general.
Okay, fantastic. Mind you, we've spoken quite a lot about women already in the industry, but I did just want to touch upon newer recruits. So the gender imbalance in security could be putting off young women from considering it as a career path. So what changes do you think need to be made so that security becomes a more appealing industry for women?
So I think it has a lot to do with resources, but also awareness. I was not aware of like the security field when I first started, or like, you know, when I was in college. But when I came across security, I didn't realize how incredible of a community it can be, because it's a very close and small community, but they want to help each other out, but also being part of different kinds of groups. So there's definitely Discord chats. There's also Slack chats, and by chats I mean like groups that women can join if they're interested in the field. But I think most importantly is like trying to get out there to be like, hey, you know, InfoSec is a really cool space. You should take a look at it. It's a possibility for you. And I think honestly, deep down inside, I think many of us would love to learn how to hack something, because there's something about empowerment when it comes to like learning how to manipulate a tool, you know? And so I think that's really important, is to try to find that way to get more women in the field, but also start at a very young age. So sometimes I'll volunteer for like different organizations that are working with girls at like even at the age of like 7 and like trying to teach them a little bit of that there is this field for them. But in the same time, I'm trying to do behind the scenes, trying to change the situation for them. So when they get into the field, I hope there's 50-50 men and women, to be honest. So I'm doing whatever I can to try to bring those percentages up, and along with a lot of other women and men that are wanting to do that as well. Because it takes everyone in the community to try to make that difference.
Chloé, thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. It's been really insightful, and we're very excited to see where your initiatives lead. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Tech Chat, and thanks once again to Chloé for the valuable discussion. If you're interested in generating leads for your business, then head on over to the Tell Us Your Audience page on our website, where we can distribute your content across North America, APAC and Europe, delivering SQLs and MQLs right back to you. In the meantime, please head over to our website or follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter to keep up with the great content.